Okay, I welcome you all for this class on transmission and distribution. We had started initially with the concept related to the distribution systems, and module 5 is what we are going to cover. And in module 5, we are going to have, okay, I hope I'm audible. Can anyone confirm? Janavi?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Janavi, thank you. Thank you for your confirmation. And yes, so let us begin today's class with an introduction to distribution system. So I'll be asking you questions. What do you mean by an distribution system? Anyone could answer. Can anyone answer what do you mean by a distribution system, or how do you define a distribution system? Anyone who could answer what do you mean by a distribution system? Okay, so we have generation, transmission, and distribution, right? So we have the distribution substation, or simply we call it as a substation. Okay, so first you need to understand the definition of a substation. All right, so how you are going to define a substation or a distribution system? Okay, can anyone read out? So it is a part of the power system which distributes electrical power for local use. So that is why it is called as a distribution system. Okay, so we have the feeders, distributors, and service means, and later we had the classification of distribution systems. Okay, and later we want to find out what are the distribution systems that are there. That is primary distribution and secondary distribution that is there. Okay, so all those things we highlighted in the previous session that was held on Wednesday. Okay, so in today's class we'll be highlighting about the concept related to the, okay, so the types of the distribution system. Okay, so we had 3-wire and 2-wire distribution system, like normally explained to you. Okay, and what is the major difference between overhead and underground system? That is one thing that you will be highlighting. And next one, so what are the different connection schemes? Okay, so what are the different connection schemes that are there in a distribution system? Okay, so first we begin with the types that is there in practice already with constant voltage. All the systems which are there, we need to achieve with that constant voltage. Okay, so you have the feeders, which is nothing but having the constant current carrying capability or the capacity. So first type of connection schemes is called as the radial system. Okay, so in this system you have separate feeders which are being radiated from the single substation, and it is fed to the distributor at one end only. So what you are seeing there here is, so you have a substation and you have a feeder arrangement. Okay, so O to C is a feeder arrangement. Okay, from A you have the distributor, that is AB, which is there, and these are the loads which are connected to the distributor. Okay, so we have two types. One, we can directly connect it to the loads, that is nothing but the industrial loads, or we can have the secondary distribution system which is there. With the help of the transformer we can reduce the voltage and we can feed it to the loads, that is a single phase load or a 3-phase load, depending on the requirement we can generally use it. Okay, so now what we are going to do here, what is the thing what you are going to observe here is, so feeders are the one which are having the constant current carrying capability. Okay, so once it reaches the different part of a system, you have the distributor, that is AB, and from point A it is taken as a tapping. Okay, so from the feeder you take a tapping of the distributor and the radial system where it is being employed, so it is having a low voltage and the substation which is located at the center of the load. Okay, so that is what you are going to observe in case of this feeder arrangement, that is for the industrial loads, and this one is for the second figure what you are seeing, this one is for the 3-phase loads or single phase loads, that is generally classified as residential loads there. Okay, So one of the simplest network because of its low initial cost. And what are the drawbacks? Okay, so each and every drawback what you can observe here. So you have the end of the distributor nearest to the feeding point will be heavily loaded just because of the power capability of it. So you will be having the heavy loading which is there at the end of the distributor nearest to the feeding point. Okay. Next, you have the consumers which are dependent on a single feeder and a single distributor. So therefore, any fault on the feeder or distributor cuts off the supply to the consumers who are on the side of the fault away from the substation. Okay. So now, any fault which occurs on the system here, so you say that the loads, whatever that is connected, okay, whatever that is connected on the feeder, so that tends to have the faulty conditions that is applied, and the feeder or the distributor cuts off the supply to the consumers. Okay, so the consumers, what you are seeing here, the consumers at the distant end of the distributor would be subjected to serious voltage fluctuations when the load on it changes. Okay, so all these things are the drawbacks which are there for the radial system. Okay, so radial system, you have to remember that. So directly the loads are connected in case of the industrial loads from the feeder, and next you have the use of a transformer to the other part, and next any fault on the system would generally tend or would generally cause serious problems on the load side, so the loads will not be able to run. So therefore any fault which cuts off the supply to the consumers. Okay, so the consumers at the distant end would be having a serious voltage fluctuations if there is any load changes suddenly on the distributor side. Okay, so because it is directly connected to the feeder. So that is the reason why such systems are usually for short distances only. Okay, so where you have a small radius of 3 kilometers or 5 kilometers or like 7 to 8 kilometers of length. So you will be having the small area where the substation is located, and a radial system is being preferred for the design of the distribution systems. Okay, so that is why we go for the radial distribution system. Okay, so next one, we got the ring main subsystem. I'll show you the figure of the ring main substitution, ring main system, which is there for the substation there. So what we got here is, in case of ring main, so you have the prior boundaries which are there. So it is more or less like a complete circle or a complete loop which is being made. Okay, so it starts from the substation, and you have the constant capability that is nothing but the bus bars, and it makes loop to the area which is to be served. Okay, so whatever you go, it is just like writing a loop. Okay, so you have a loop which is there. So once you have a loop which is being starting from the substation bus bars, and it reaches the substation back. Okay, so if you see the AC distribution system, okay, so how the substation, or you can have the primary ring which is there. So if you start from the substation, say point S is there, so you have a complete ring or a square sort of a structure, or a rhombus or a parallelogram structure which is there. So you have the connections being met from the feeders to the distributors again in the form of a ring. Okay, so if any one of the faulty conditions which are there, okay, so what we observed in a radial, in a ring main, you are not going to have such faults. Okay, so even though if you have such faults, it has been having the backup facility. Okay, so you see that there are less voltage fluctuations at the consumer terminals, and the system is very reliable such that each distributor is fed via two feeders. Okay, so if a fault occurs in one of the feeders, and in the other feeder will be having the supply of power. Okay, so for example, you have a fault at the point SLM. Okay, SLN will be the fault region there. Okay, so you have a fault here, and this is the case where you don't have a fault. So I am in this area which is NOP. So if I want to have a power which is to be provided to this area, so I'll be going for the feeder arrangement SRQPO, and it reaches the distributor and it feeds the load. Okay, so it is just like if you have a traffic, or if the road is completely blocked in one of the side, so you switch over to the other side such that you have easy flow of commuting. Okay, so that is how it has been used in case of such things. Okay, So these are the advantages that you prefer over the radial system. Ring main system is being preferred these days for the design of the distribution system. Okay, so next you have the interconnected system. So what you see here, so you have two substations, that is S1 and S2, so which is there at points C and D. So how you are going to define the interconnected system? Okay, so when the feeder ring is to be energized by two or more generating stations or the substations, so then you are going to call it as a interconnected system. Okay, so now the feeder, what do you say here? So you have a feeder, I mean you have a substation S1 and you have a substation S2. Okay, so to a feeder you have a connection from both S1 and S2. Okay, so what you observe here, a DC is the feeder. Okay, so now to point D you have connection from S1, and to point C you have connection from S2. Okay, so that is where you will be having a closed feeder ring ABCD, which is supplied by two substations, that is S1 and S2 respectively. Okay, so distributors are connected to the points which are there using the distribution transformers, and the interconnected subsystem has the following advantages. Okay, so it increases the service reliability, or any area which is fed from one generating station during the peak load hours, it can be fed from the other generating station. This reduces the power capacity and also increases the system requirement. Okay, system efficiency or system requirements which are there. Fine. So the requirements are already being set. It is nothing but the load point here. Okay, so you have three types. First one is the radial, next one is the ring, and third one is the interconnected system. Okay, so right now we are using the interconnected system and the ring mains to an extent. Okay, so certainly you will be going for the interconnected systems for the better operation. For example, if any generation fails, okay, so if any of the generation fails, you will be having the other generation which has been met, such that any maintenance or any such problems which occur there on the system, so will certainly keep it in running condition. Okay, so that is the reason for it. Okay, so any doubts up to this point regarding the types of connections? So any doubts, the connection schemes which are there, so which is responsible for the distribution system, any doubts? Okay, so if there are no doubts, let's proceed to the next one. What are the requirements of a distribution system? So we have proper voltage, availability of power on demand, and reliability. Okay, so if I want to consider the design consideration also, it would be towards the feeder and the distributor system. Okay, so any doubts up to this point, anyone? Any doubts up to this point, whatever that we have covered? Okay, let's move on to the next one. That is, we have certain things which are to be discussed. Okay, so we just discussed about the introduction aspect of distribution system, requirements of a distribution system. Next, we got the connection schemes, and next we got to know how a distribution system, types of the distribution system, and next we have the typical distribution network which is to be analyzed. Okay, so we got all these things which are there. And moving on to the next one, we got DC distribution. Okay, so these are the important topics what I'm going to do right now, which is there for the tests and also for the examinations which are there. Okay, so what I want you to do is you are going to have this DC distribution, even though in the syllabus they have mentioned it as AC distribution system which is being preferred. So we have DC distribution also being one of the components. First, we need to get to know what do you mean by DC distribution systems, its calculations and its types of loading. Okay, so whether it is concentrated loading or uniformly loaded and fed at one end or both the ends. Okay, so distributor which is fed at both concentrated and uniform loading. And then next we have got ring distributor. Okay, so all these things we are going to analyze it for a few 2 to 3 classes. Okay, so next we are going to understand what do you mean by AC distribution. Okay, so as I told you, why DC distribution is to be preferred. Okay, so we have all the generating stations which are there certainly produce AC power to meet the AC loads which are connected. Now there are also DC loads where you need to meet the type of the supply. Okay, so where you see that the generated and the transmitted and the distributed power will be in AC, keeping the economical aspects also in mind. Okay, so now if you want to convert it to lower voltage of AC, you will be going for a transformer. Okay, so you have the currents that are there. Okay, and you have the voltage capability. So you have a transformer and you step down the voltage depending on the requirement. Okay, so now you have certain applications which is the DC supply, such as DC motors or variable speed machinery or electrochemical work, or in case of traction motor drives. So you will be having a preference of DC supply there. Okay, so now you want to convert it from AC power to DC power, and previously it was the mercury arc rectifiers, rotary converters, and the MJ sets. So nowadays we are having the rectifier circuits again, that is completely power electronics in nature. Okay, so we are going to prefer it over the other types which were discussed earlier. Okay, so now in this part of the topic what we are going to discuss now, we are going to have our analysis with respect to the concept of DC distribution. Okay, DC distribution, where the distributor which is fed at one end, distributor fed at both the ends, distribution fed at the center, distributor which is ring structure, which is the ring distributor network. Okay, so you just imagine you have a supply of power or supply of current to point A. Okay, so a simple example is you have flow of vehicles. Okay, so you have a 100-meter road. Okay, you have a 100-meter road and you have 3 turns where the vehicle needs to be moving there. Okay, so you have a set of 100 vehicles which are moving, and first 40 vehicles move to the first turn. After next you have the 60 more vehicles which are there, it moves to the other turn, and the remaining vehicles which is 30 will move to the other end. Okay, so it's a simple analysis. Even if I don't tell you that after 60, I mean after 60 vehicles, the last vehicles would be the 30 or 40 vehicles which would be moving. Okay, so that is where we are going to understand the distributor or the current which is fed at that point of the distributor from the feeder, so will be utilized by the loads. Okay, a simple analogy what I gave you right now. So you have point A, point C, point D, and point E and B, where A and B forms the distributor network. Okay, so I have the total current which is being sent at point A, that is I1 plus I2 plus I3. Okay, so next you have points C, D, and E. So I have 3 points, and I have at point C, I take current I1. Okay, so what will be current in the branch CD? What will be the current in the point CD, the network, the part of the network or the part of the distributor? What is the current in CD, the section CD? So we categorize it as sections. What would be the current in section CD? Can anyone tell me? Look at the diagram. What will be the current in the network or the section CD? Amruta? Ambika?
Sir,
I asked the question right now. What would be the current in the network CD?
I2 plus I3.
Okay, yes. So similarly, it is drawing a current I1 from point C. Okay, so next you have CD, that is I2 plus I3. Next DE, so you have current I2 which is drawn. Okay, for example, I'll give you in section AC, you have 60 amperes of current. Okay, so at point C, I take 20 amperes of current. What would be I2 plus I3? It would be 40 amperes. Okay, so this 40 amperes will move to point D, and you have I2, which has been drawing again 10 amperes of current. Okay, 40 minus 10, that is 30 amperes. Okay, so the 30 amperes will be drawn by the point E, that is the load connected to point E. Okay, so you might be having some losses, but practically speaking, so it is the load which is connected to it. So the load will be exhibiting the losses there. Okay, so it draws the current, and the load which is connected to the point E3, I mean, sorry, that is current I3 and point E. Okay, so you have DC. Okay, all these points represents the different loads which are connected on the feeder or the distributor network. Okay, so you have the feeder connection to point A, AB is the distributor. Okay, so it is called as a single fed distributor network. Okay, so you have this section where it is the currents are concentrated at one end and loads are taken at different points along the length of the distributor. Okay, so it shows the single line diagram, what is there here. So this is a single line diagram representation. So you have different currents which are being tapped off from I1, I2 and I3 at points C, D and E. Okay, so what you have to keep in mind is, so the current in the various sections, okay, goes on decreasing as I move ahead to the other part or the other load which is connected, and the voltage across the loads away from the feeding point goes on decreasing. Okay, so this is the minimum voltage level which occurs at point E, and in case of the fault in any of the section, as I told you, what happens if there is any fault in one of the distributor network, so which is fed at one end. What happens? Revant, Rohan, anyone who is there? Bhavana KS, what happens if there is a fault in the distributor? Himanshu?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what happens if there is a fault in the distributor network? So what happens if there is a fault which is occurring in any of the section?
The connection stops.
Continuity of
And
supply is interrupted.
Exactly, Bhavana. So you say that the continuity of the supply or the whole distributor is disconnected. Okay, so all the loads which are connected to it, okay, so all the loads which are connected from the supply, so it will be completely interrupted there. Okay, so that is a nice answer what Bhavana gave right now. Okay, so next you have the distributor which is fed at both the ends. Okay, so I want you to analyze this distributor at both the ends. Can anyone analyze the system and they can let me know what happens at both ends? Yeah, so what happens at both ends? Can anyone let me know? So what you observe here in the first thing, what you observe in distributor fed at both ends? What do you observe here? First thing, so you have the connections fed from both the ends. Okay, so you have the connection which is fed from both the ends, and in this type of feeding network, so you have the distributor where at both ends you have the connection, and the loads are being tapped off as from the different points depending on the length of the distributor. Okay, so AB is the distributor, so you have the points C, D and E. Okay, so you have the currents I1, I2 and I3 which are being tapped off. Okay, so here the load voltage goes on decreasing as we move from the point, and it reaches a minimum value. Observe here, it reaches a minimum value and then it keeps on increasing. Can anyone tell me why? Can anyone in the meeting tell me why it reaches a minimum value and then it keeps on increasing? Okay, I want you to analyze because these are the important points where you will be observing a decrease in the voltage value and then you have an increase. Okay, so now you have the decrease and it reaches a minimum value and it keeps on increasing. Okay, so once you have such increase after it reaches a minimum value, it is said to be having the other end. See what we observed, the distributor is also fed from the other end. Okay, so that is the reason why we have the minimum value which has been reached and again it reaches the maximum value what we observed earlier. Okay, so that is where we will be having the feeder. Okay, so feeder I mean here where the feeding is done to the point B of the distributor network to point B there. Okay, so that is where we are going to observe when it reaches a minimum and it goes to a maximum value. Okay, so you have the minimum voltage occur at some point of the load and it is never fixed. It is shifted with the variation of the load in the different sections of the distributor. Okay, so that is the reason why it is called as the distributor which is fed at both ends. As I told you in the previous one, we have certain advantages when you feed a distributor from two ends. In case of a fault condition, it is having a continuity of supply. Okay, so the continuity of the supply is not missed in any of the sections of the distributor. Okay, so you have the distributor which is fed at the center. Okay, so it is just like you have two turns, that is left turn and the right turn. You have two ends, that is you have point C where it takes a left turn and a right turn and you have the distributor ring which is there and you have the flow of current. Okay, so this is the point C which is there and you have the currents that is I1 plus I2 and the other current which is there as I3 plus I4. Okay, so all these currents which are there, so you have the currents which is flowing to the left, that is I1 plus I2, that is towards A, and towards B you have I3 plus I4. Okay, so all these things are said to be the ring connection, or the other way in which it could be expressed from a feeder, you have points A, B, C and D. Okay, so you have points A, B, C and D and you have the feeder current that is I1 plus I2 plus I3. Okay, so all these said to be the equivalent to a doubly fed distributor system. So, and each distributor is having a common feed point and the length equal to half of the total length. Okay, so that is where the DC distributor system plays a major role. So single end fed, okay, singly fed the distributor, doubly fed, and this one is the ring distributor which is there. Okay, so these are the types in which a DC distributor is analyzed. Okay, so let us move. How do we do the calculations related to the power loss, flow of current, and we have set of equations and a simple derivation which you need to keep in mind. Okay, so let's move ahead with the derivation part. Okay, let me go ahead here. So as you can see, we have two types of loading, that is concentrated loading and uniform loading. Okay, so that is the two types. Next, we have both concentrated and uniform loading which are present on a single distributor system. So next we have the concentrated loads. How we are going to define a concentrated load? So we are going to define the concentrated load as those load which act on a particular point. See, concentrated. So you are having a part, or if you apply pressure to only one part of the that is a substance. Okay, a substance, you generally say it as the pressure is concentrated on only one end or concentrated on one end. Okay, so next we have a common example such as the load that is being tapped off for the domestic use and the distributor loads which is being connected on all the points, that is uniformly distributed. Okay, so uniformly distributed is one part where you have the distribution of load from a distributor equally, or to an extent it is distributed over the length of the distributor. Okay, so now you don't have any distributed loads, because the distributed loads which is of a large number of the same wattage connected to the distributor at the equivalents. Okay, so what are the points that you need to keep in mind while you are working on a DC distribution calculation? Okay, so how we are going to calculate the power loss, how we are going to calculate the voltage that is there. So what is the minimum voltage if it is fed at both the ends? Okay, so depending on the type of the loading, we are going to have a derivation which is to be discussed. So the first part is what you need to keep in mind is the determination of point of minimum potential. So make a note of it. So in calculations, you need to note down the minimum potential of the distributor. So next you have the point at which the loading conditions will differ and the method of feeding the distributor. So next we have the distributor which is designed such that the minimum potential is not less than the 6% of the rated voltage of the consumer terminals. Okay, so all these important things that you have to keep in mind in a DC distribution calculation. Okay, so let's move on to the first type. So we'll discuss only this part in today's, and I'm going to give a problem which you need to analyze, and you have to do it. It's a simple one. If you know your geometry well, and if you know the fundamentals of electrical engineering, it is quite easy. Okay, so let me take a distributor. What type of distributor it is? Can you look at the figure and can you tell me what type of distributor it is? What type of distributor it is? Janavi, can you tell me depending on the diagram? Rakshita? Sagar BS? What type of distributor it is? Mohammad Ryan? Mohammad Uzair? Ashmit Ram? What type of distributor it is? Ashik? Yes, can you let me know? Because if you don't answer, it would be quite difficult for me. What type of distributor network it is? What type of distributor network it is? So is it fed at one end or both the ends? Sidling Swami?
One end.
Yes. So it is fed at one end. All right. So now you have the DC distributor which is fed at one end, and you have the load connection. So how many points are there? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So you have the 4 load connection and the final one which is point B. Okay. So it is a DC distributor fed at one end, and it is a concentrated loading where you have the concentration of loading point at point C, point D, point E, and point F. Okay. So now you have the 2-wire DC distributor, that is the distributor AB, so which is fed at one end and having the concentrated loads, that is I1, I2, and I3 and I4, so which are tapped off from points C, D, E, and F respectively. Okay, so you have the resistance of both the wires, that is the go wire and the return wire. So we got it as positive terminal and the negative terminal because it is a DC distribution system. So in the sections AC, CD, DE, and EF of the distributor respectively. Okay, so that is you have a resistance of the wire, that is R1, R2, R3, and R4. So with respect to the section AC, CD, DE, EF. Okay, so EF, that is there. So these are the different sections there. Okay, so point B is said to be taken at the end point of the distributor. So you have the current which is being fed at point A, which is the total current, that is I1 plus I2 plus I3 plus I4. Okay, so the same current will be flowing through the current section AC because there is no tapping in the AC section, that is the section AC of the distributor. Now the total current reaches point C and it has to go to the section CD because you have the points which are connected. Okay, so now you have the section which is being tapped off by the current I1, and the current I2 plus I3 plus I4 will flow in the section here. Okay, so similarly you have I3 plus I4, and the current in section EF is said to be I4 then. Okay, so how we are going to find out the voltage drop? So you know the resistance and you know the current, so you are just multiplying the section resistance to get the voltage drop in the particular section. Okay, so if you want to find out the total voltage drop, it is given as the sum of the voltage drops in all the sections. Okay, so that's how you are going to find out the currents and also the voltage distribution that is there. Okay, so now it is easy to see that the minimum potential will occur at point F. Okay, so minimum potential will occur at point F just because of the value of the current there. Okay, so that is the R4 into I4. Okay, so simple way in which you can remember, and you have the section EF, that is R4 and I4 there. Okay, so that is the total voltage drop in which in that particular section, that is EF, is said to be the minimum potential will occur at the point F there, which is far from the feeding point E. Okay, so this is the DC distributor which is fed at one end, that is due to the concentrated loading. Okay, so you have to analyze the system. So when I say concentrated loading, that point, okay, so that point in the DC distributor where you have taken the loading, taken the tapping to meet the load requirements. Okay, so make a note of this problem. We are going to completely do this problem right now, and I want every one of you to keep in mind that we are going to see this problem, which is quite simple. Okay, so we are going to finish it off in another 5 to 10 minutes. Yes, so let's take this problem right now, which is a DC distributor which is fed at one end. So how we are going to identify it at one end? So you have the point. Okay, so once you read out the problem, you will come to know why it is DC distributor which is fed at one end. So how you are going to identify it? Write down the problem. A 2-wire DC distributor cable AB is 2 kilometer long and supplies a load of 100 amperes, 150 amperes, 200 amperes, and 50 amperes, which is situated at 500 meter, 1000 meter, 1600 meter, and 2000 meter from the feeding point A. Okay, observe here, underline this point, which is feeding point A. So each conductor has a resistance of 0.01 ohm per 1000 meter. Calculate the potential difference at each load point if a potential difference of 300 volt is maintained at point A. Okay, so if you want to have the flow of current to the distributor at a particular point, say A, so you are going to identify it as feeding point A. So if it is two ends, they would have generally set it as feeding point A and B. So it is a DC distributor, a 2-wire DC distributor. Okay, so it is fed at a point A. Okay, so now what you are going to do, you are going to have 0.01 ohm per 1000 meter. Okay, so the resistance you have to find out. For 1000 meters it is 0.01. So for 500 meters, or depending on the values, you are going to scale the resistance down. Okay, observe here very carefully. So it is for one conductor. Okay, so they have given here each conductor. So it is a 2-wire system. So you cannot have the 0.01 which is to be taken. If it is a 2-wire system, you need to multiply it as 2 into 0.01 because it is a 2-wire DC distributor cable AB. Getting it? So that's what you are going to do, and each conductor will have 0.01 ohm. Okay, so totally you have a resistance per 1000 meter of distributor as 0.02 ohm. Okay, so next you have the resistance of all the sections, that is A to B. If you draw a line, we are representing a distributor. So this is what it is given. So you have A to B. Okay, so and the potential at point A is maintained at as 300 volt. So what is the current which is flowing, which is 500 ampere in section A? Section AC, correct. So you have 500 amperes. So I mean, 1 minute. So it is 500 meter. Okay, I'm sorry, it is 500 meter. So once you take the value of the current, how you are going to find out the value of the current? Okay, so in the last section, you have 50 amperes of current. Okay, observe here, in the last section, you have 50 amperes. We are going to take it from this section. Okay, in the last section, we got 50 amperes of current. Okay, so if I get this 50 amperes of current, so if I go back, okay, so it is just like working out back. So it would be 50 plus 200 at the section DE. Okay, 50 plus 200 at the section DE, that is 250 amperes. Next, so this 250 amperes is again added with another section current, that is 150, that is 400 amperes. Next, we have the current AC, that is 400 plus 100, that is 500 amperes. Okay, so getting it, how did we get 500 amperes? So we started from the back section, that is 50 amperes, and then we get it in the back substitution way. Okay, so you have the length of the distributor network, so that is, you have it as 2000 meters. So depending on the section of current, so you have 2000 meters, that is that. Okay, so if you have the section length at each and every point, so you are going to have it as 500 meter, 500 meter in section AC and CD. So next you have DE, which is 600 meter. So next you have section EB, which is 400 meter. Okay, so you are going to get the current and you are going to get the distance also. All right, so now the resistance of each section, if you want to find out, you are going to have the section for 500 meters, each section 1000 meters. So next you have the other section which is there. So all these things depending on that section length and the resistance which is there for a 2-wire distributor, you are going to get 0.001 ohm, 0.001 in AC section, CD section, and DE you are going to get it as 0.012 ohm, and EB 0.008 ohm. Okay, so depending on the sections, we are going to get the values of the resistance. Okay, so any doubt up to this point? Any doubt? How did we get that? Any doubt? How did we get that? Any doubt? Okay, so let's move on to the next one. That is potential difference at load point C, D, E, and B. Okay, so you have potential difference at A. So you want to find out at C. So VC would be equal to VA minus drop in AC. Okay, so that is 300 minus IAC into RAC, that you are going to get it as 295 volt. Okay, so similarly, you are going to find out VD, which is VC minus drop in this section, that is section CD. Okay, so we are going to get it as 291 volt. So at point E it is 288 and at point B it is 287. Okay, so we are going to find out the potentials at different points. We generally say that the load point B is said to be having a minimum potential. Okay, so any doubts up to this point? Any doubts up to this point? Do work it out yourself and let me know in the next class if you have any problems. Okay, so